Picture this, you spend months planning your Japan trip, temples, gardens, those perfect Instagram shots. Then you get there and realize you're in line with 1,000 other people who read the same blog. In this video, I'm gonna show you 5 hidden gems that you don't wanna miss. Ever shown up to a place you saw in those perfect travel photos? Then you get there and realize that everybody else had the same idea. The whole thing feels more like a theme park than that peaceful experience you picture. In Japan, sometimes temples can feel that way. What if I told you there was a place with all the scale and all the history of those big name temples, but you got to actually experience it? About an hour from Tokyo, there's this temple complex near the mountains in Odawara. It's surrounded by cedar trees that have been there for over 500 years. You walk in and the first thing you notice isn't the buildings. It's the peace and quiet. Water running through these cool stone channels. You hear your own footsteps. It's so big that if you're in a group, you may not even see each other. That's when it hits you. This isn't just big. This is what it actually feels like when there's nobody else around to fill the space. My cousin lives in Japan and told me, you haven't seen temples until you've seen this one. I thought he was gassing me up, but he was right. We walked in, we saw maybe only 3 people the whole time. After being there, I realized what makes this place different. I was actually able to feel the scale of the temple. I wasn't just shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of people. The place I'm talking about is Daiyuzan Saijoji Temple, or just Daiyuzan, in the mountains near Odawara. There's these Tengu statues that guard the paths. They can be kind of creepy. And when it's you just standing there, it feels like they're really watching you. And I think because of the scale, it really stops feeling so much like a tourist place. And it feels ancient. It's like you're the first person that's ever discovered this place, even though it's been here for over 600 years. At the very end, there's 350 steps that lead straight up to the Okunoin Shrine, which is at the highest point of the temple. And I mean, these steps are steep, like regret your life choices steep. But when you reach the shrine overlooking everything at the top, you get why people have been making this climb for centuries. One thing is, this is still a functioning Zen temple and a monastery. So quiet voices, be respectful, and just make sure you show proper temple etiquette. It's about 2 hours from Tokyo to Odawara, then about 30 to 40 minutes from Odawara Station, depending on how you get there. I'm telling you, this is what you pictured when you thought about visiting a Japanese temple, except you actually get to experience it. Also, before we jump into the next one, I wanted to say, grab my free guide with all these spots, plus 5 extras, and also grab my Japan travel guide for all things Japan. Both links are in the description. So we're gonna go from finding peace at a temple that most people miss to something completely different. So you've probably seen these thatch roof farmhouses that look like praying hands, the ones in all the photos. Gorgeous, right? Everybody loves them. But what if I told you could see the exact same thing, but talk to the grandmother who lives there instead of fighting through tour buses for a photo? Everyone goes to Shirakawago, and I get it. It's incredible. But 2 million people figured that out too. And I know someone also told you that Shirakawago is amazing. And it is. In fact, most of the locals run tourism-related businesses, which do help the area. But there's a village that sits right next door with that same World Heritage status and almost no crowds. Same experience, none of the chaos. I think that's the move. The place I'm talking about is Gokayama. The difference with Gokayama is people actually live here. There's only about 40 residents in Ainokura, and about half the houses are still homes, and they're not just museums. When you show up, there's a chance for real interactions. The papermaker showing you his workshop, sitting down for tea while someone's grandmother explains how she's been maintaining that thatch roof for 300 years. These are the types of moments you can't plan for. The ones that make a trip feel, well, real. Winter changes the backdrop completely. Same snow-covered roofs as all the famous postcards, but you can really take it all in. Hear the snow falling because there's nobody else around. The best way to get there is a direct bus from Kanazawa, which is about an hour, or via Takaoka if you're coming from another direction. Either way, that extra effort compared to the tour bus crowds flooding Shirakawago is exactly what keeps Gokayama special. If you got a favorite travel memory where you've connected with a local or experienced something unexpected, drop it in the comments. I love hearing those stories from you guys. All right, so we're gonna switch gears completely. What if I told you there's a place where just showing up actually means something? 2011. There's a massive earthquake that causes a major tsunami that leads to a nuclear disaster. Talk about a trifecta of things you don't want to deal with.
That's it, I'm out of here.
This entire region got labeled as somewhere you should not go. I mean, I guess I get it. But here's what most people don't know. Most of this region is perfectly safe. 2 hours from Tokyo, Aizu Wakamatsu, or the Samurai City, could really use some TLC. Aizu Wakamatsu is in Fukushima Prefecture that experienced the earthquake and nuclear situation in 2011. But Aizu Wakamatsu's got a ton of history and a lot of cool things going for it. Tsunoda Castle has the only red tile roof in Japan. I mean, it was reconstructed in 1960, but they got all the details right. The Aizu Bukeyashiki lets you walk through a 38-room samurai residence, and you can actually see how those warrior families lived. And Aizu Wakamatsu is actually one of the few places in Japan where geisha culture is still active. Depending on the time of year, you can arrange performances at Higashiyama Onsen, and it's a totally unique experience. So here's a real cool piece of history about Aizu Wakamatsu. There's this story about the Byakutai, the White Tiger unit, named after one of the 4 sacred beasts from Chinese mythology. If you watch Yu Yu Hakusho back in the day, yeah, those 4 saint beasts. Crazy, right? Mind blown. It's actually a pretty tragic story about teenage samurai who fought in the Boshin War, and a group of them actually mistakenly believed that their castle had fallen and committed ritual suicide rather than surrender. Yeah. Rough life. It's a big part of the region's history and why the legacy of the samurai remains so strong there. This is a bit of a bonus, but you can also add Old Chijuku if you want the full samurai experience. It's an old post town that's about an hour south where, fun fact, they serve soba noodles using leeks as chopsticks. It kind of started as this one restaurant owner's idea, and now it's famous in Old Chijuku. So if you want to get to Aizu Wakamatsu, it's about a 3-hour train ride north of Tokyo. And if you decide to add Old Chijuku from Aizu Wakamatsu station, you can catch a train and then a quick bus or taxi all the way there. And the tourist office at Aizu Wakamatsu station can help you sort out those connections. So while everybody else is fighting for space at those same overcrowded spots, you're getting an authentic samurai experience and actually helping a place that's looking for it. All right, so we've covered a temple where you can actually have some breathing room, a village where locals still live and thrive, and a city that needs your help. Now, let's talk about some mountains. Everybody wants that I climbed a mountain in Japan story. And yes, Fuji is the obvious choice, except it's only open 2 months a year, and even then, you're on a conga line to the top. What if I told you there's a mountain about 2 hours from Tokyo with a giant Buddha carved straight into the cliff, and a lookout point literally called Peak into Hell? The place that I'm talking about is Nokogiriyama in Chiba, or Sawtooth Mountain. That lookout I was talking about, Jigoku Nozoki, literally peak into hell. So you end up standing on this really narrow outcrop thing, and it's hanging over nothing. You look down, and suddenly that metal rail does not feel that strong. The whole mountain used to be a quarry, so you've got these stone walls that drop straight down, paths that sort of cut through these different chambers as they're carved into the rock. There's 1,500 stone statues of these Buddhist disciples that are scattered around. You'll see that some of them are actually missing their heads, and that's actually from anti-Buddhist persecution during the Meiji era. So there's a bit of history there too. Like I said, it's in Chiba Prefecture. You can hike up if you want, or take the ropeway. There you go. You get your mountain story without spending half your day waiting in a line. So now we're on to the final spot. We've covered temples, villages, samurai cities, mountains. Now, here's a place that most people have never even heard of. This spot takes us to Gunma Prefecture, and literally, nobody puts Gunma on their itinerary, although they should, but that's exactly why it's perfect. What if I told you could watch monks paint those famous red good luck dolls that you see everywhere in Japan, learn the actual wish-making tradition behind them, then dip off into the mountain hot springs where you'll see way more locals than tourists. The place that I'm talking about is Takasaki, which is about 50 minutes from Tokyo by Shinkansen. At Shorinzan Darumaji Temple, this is where the monks paint those Daruma dolls, those round red things with the angry eyebrows. And legend says, apparently, if you make a wish, then paint one eye. Then, when it comes true, you paint the other. You've also got up in the mountains, Shima Onsen, which claims its water cures 40,000 diseases. I can't verify that. I don't know how they came up with that number. I've also never had 40,000 diseases, but soaking in a bath that's been there since the era of the samurai, that's pretty real. There's also Ikaho Onsen, which has 365 stone steps for each day of the year. And there's also, as you go up each of these stone steps, shops that are around on each side, and they've been there for forever. And at the very top, there's a shrine where locals pray. And so you get a chance to see some more of how locals live and not just tourists taking photos. Like I said, the Shinkansen to Takasaki is about 50 minutes from Tokyo, and the onsen towns are about another 30 minutes to an hour by bus from there. Places like this are why you came to Japan in the first place. Not just the famous spots, but experiences that make it feel worth the while coming all this way. Look, I get it. You didn't fly halfway around the world to add extra stops to your itinerary when you could just do the Golden Triangle. But that feeling you came to Japan for, it's usually one connection away from where everyone else stops looking. Now you know where to go, but here's the thing. You can still absolutely embarrass yourself if you don't know what locals expect when you visit those places. This next video breaks down the cultural mistakes that make Japanese people think you're a terrible tourist and how you can avoid them.